Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so bombs away. Um, you may not believe me, but over 90% of cyber attacks target backup storage with 75% success rate. The escalating ransomware threat makes immutable backups vital for many organizations. But today, the immutability story are only partially effective. And that's why the full strength strategies are so very needed. In today's webinar, we're going to focus on three things. First of all, immutability effectiveness. We're going to talk about the latest advancements in that area. And also, we will tackle DP access role in combating cybercrime. My name is Marcin Łukasik. I'll be your host on today's Ask Me Anything webinar, which means that you can use the chat to ask your questions throughout the webinar, and hopefully with my dear esteemed guests, we'll be able to address your questions. And let me introduce Paweł Staniec, CTO at Catalogic Software, and Martin Fan, Field CTO for Cloud Casa and Catalogic Software in North America. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hey, Marcin. Thanks for having us.
Nice.
Well, that being said, it looks like we're going to have like two very interesting perspectives, one from the field, one from the trenches, and the other one from the company. So let's explore the immutability first. Martin, that will be a very general, high-level question. Don't kill me for that. What can we say about immutability today? As I said earlier, it seems like it's mostly partially effective. Is it actually true?
No worries, Marcin. I mean, so from my experience in the field here, we know that if you take the textbook definition of immutability, nothing's immutable, right? Anything can change. And I think as most technologists on the phone can relate to, right, if you, let's say, have access to the server, if you have root access, right, you can change, you can delete snapshots, right? And it's one of these things that, we hit up against from these purists and these textbook definition folks that take immutability true to that definition, let's say. Just to take a step back here, this is an issue that we've been focused on for the past several years, right? The way in which our software is designed in terms of these layers from our architecture to our ability to replicate and archive to cloud and tape storage, we can effectively have these checks and balances built in to make snapshots that much more immutable. But I think there is, let's say, a varying degree or scale of immutability, especially for an on-premise solution like DPX, right? So DPX was designed to be an on-prem solution where we're giving you access to our backup destination, right? We call this backup destination vStore, and I think for those of you who have attended previous webinars where we've introduced vStore and some of the capabilities of it, vStore was designed as this write once, read many type model, right? Where your snapshots can't change. You can't, go in and say, I want to modify this backup, remove some elements from the backup. But you can delete it, right? You can go in, if you have, administrative access, let's say you're a storage administrator, you can delete it. And that's the whole purpose why we built around, layers and air gap capabilities, let's say writing to tape or sending the data to cloud, where we're able to take advantage of even more immutability features from cloud vendors like Wasabi, as an example, where you can S3 object lock snapshots if you enable versioning on the S3 bucket. So this is just our story over the years is how can we make these snapshots stronger and more resilient and resistant to ransomware attacks and changes from, let's say, privileged users that are trying to access vStore or trying to access, any location where the snapshots are residing. And it's a hard question to solve, I think, because the deeper you go down into it, the more you realize that things can change, and how can we prevent users from changing what they should not be unless they really wanted to.
I believe that the VStore and capabilities of VStore will be meat and potatoes of this meeting, but before we go there, one more question that will be also quite general. How can a company tell if it needs immutable backup? What are the prerequisites for having immutable backup?
I mean, every company is clamoring for immutable backups, right? It's almost become sort of like a check mark for companies that desire to be protected from ransomware, or from even tampering from within, right? And because of the on-prem nature of our backup solution, for example, let's say another backup solution might say, you can back up to our destination, but you won't have access to our destination. We control the storage, kind of thing. That's one way in which you can control immutability and tampering. I think we have more ways to go, especially because we are an on-prem based solution where we're giving you a software-defined storage appliance that you have direct control over, root access to, and if you let's say don't know what you're doing, or you, let's say, inadvertently expire a job, you're effectively deleting that read or write once, read many snapshot, that worm snapshot there, and potentially compromising your ability to restore. And so, yeah, I think we hear a lot about, what are you doing in the areas of immutability? And so we're getting feedback from our customers and from end users, looking for ways in which they can uh, get the best of both worlds without making compromises, and without you know making or accidentally deleting what they shouldn't be deleting, or even purposely or maliciously. Let's say you have a disgruntled actor from within trying to modify and alter, delete snapshots. We protect, or we do as much as we can to protect against those vectors of attack.
As a CTO of Catalog Software, I believe that you not only look after the quality of code and the quality of products, but you're also very familiar with the recent developments when it comes to immutability. Are there any existing latest solutions worthy a note? And there will be a second part of my question in it. What's the role of DPX in it?
I guess this one is for me. Well, it is again like a very, very broad topic, and of course the technology is moving forward really, really fast, and we know that there are well-established and regarded solutions out there based on either cloud immutability, well, Wasabi with the object lock, but we also have those warm solutions like write once, read many. Recently, of course, I also saw, and not only me, right, but we are all aware of the advancements that are done by the artificial intelligence, right? That there are solutions that are using, well, both the artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms that are capable of monitoring and enhancing the possibility to protect the integrity of data and guaranteeing its immutability. So this is definitely improving. Um, well, and while I wanted to circle back a little bit, like to the previous thing, like because you mentioned like who needs that, and I think these topics are very much correlated. That there is an aspect of regulatory requirements, right? It's not only the cybersecurity, it's not only protection about the threats, but it's also the regulatory things that may make you really need to ensure your data is secure. And then, of course, there are different technologies that are helping to achieve specific goals. This is we've been heavily working on guard mode, which is a component that helps you to detect specific changes, unwanted changes, or unusual behavior on the data. And then we are using advanced statistical and behavioral analysis solutions to actually spot some changes. And then you can use that to guarantee that your backups will not be overwritten, or that you're not backing up data that will not be possible to use for restoring your information. So these tools combined with the storage solutions that that are out there on the market, and vStore is an example, can actually not only guarantee the immutability on the file system level, but also one step earlier. So I think that's how I would tackle this. And of course, DPX and vStore are the solutions that allow you to protect your data and store them in a way that makes you safe, in a sense that we are capable of doing detecting and tracking incremental changes and saving your data in certain versions that can be protected and will not be modified. So then you can go back, even if something happens, you can go back to a certain point in time and get your data back. And these copies and these versions are being, well, what we consider immutable. This, I hope it covers. I know, as I mentioned, it's a broad topic, and being involved in a lot of things, both DPX and vStore, but also guard mode, makes my perspective, kind of very, very wide. And we don't have enough time to cover it all. I apologize.
Hey, Paulo, I think that's a great point regarding regulatory, and compliance, right? And I think, legal hold is something that we hear a lot of, right, in terms of use cases, and being a catalog for all these data recovery points, right? We've kind of well, in our 30-year history, right, we started out as data protection, right, backup and recovery, and that kind of, morphed it and became a story of data reuse and making use of your snapshots. And so we started focusing on how we can use this advanced recovery, or design advanced recovery into some of our recovery features to mount snapshots as primary storage, let's say, or make snapshots into virtual machines, completely rebuild environments through backups for test dev, right? It's interesting to see how it's now, coming back to this. Hey, I still need that insurance policy, but at the same time, as a catalog, right, for all my backup recovery points, let's say I had this requirement for legal hold. I want to be able to lock that snapshot and prevent any of it from being deleted, right? And I know that's been a challenge from a product and capability standpoint, because once the retention period has been hit for snapshots, that snapshot's deleted, right? So, I don't want to give away some of the things that we've been developing. I'm going to let you kind of handle that, but I know that we've been working on some things that I think the folks on this phone and our customers are going to be very pleased with, from an immutability perspective, where we are further enhancing what it means to be immutable from a vStore snapshot perspective. And I was hoping you can share some of that with us as well.
Sure.
Question to you, Pavel. Could you? Yeah.
I just wanted to ask whether we want to jump to it right now, or
Yes, I believe it would
that's
be a perfect moment to jump in. Yeah.
for later. Well, so in terms of vStore, well, we know it's been out there for quite some time, and it's a very I believe it is a very efficient and reliable storage solution for backups, and that's how we've been developing it for years. And from the very beginning, it was supposed to be a system that is going to be perfectly fitted for backup as a primary backup storage, and as we've learned and as the market and customer needs evolved, we've been watching it closely, and now I think it's a good time to implement certain features that will make implementation of immutability on that level a lot easier. And I think it would be a good time to explain like how we enhance the immutability, because it's by dictionary definition probably immutability is or isn't and cannot be enhanced. So, but from a file system perspective, like on ZFS, when you have a snapshot, they call it immutable because it cannot be changed. Of course, it cannot be changed, but it can be deleted. So so it's not a full immutability, right? So there's some people say like, okay, it's not out there on the market. Immutability is only partial, and they mean a lot of things by that. That's one of the things that we are trying to fix. So as the snapshots indeed are not changeable, they can still be deleted, and this is something that we are adding, that we've been working on and currently adding in the next version of vStore, is the ability to actually set certain snapshots, or actually put a flag on a volume level that every snapshot created will automatically be locked, right? So that you won't be able to delete this. Of course, if that wouldn't make a lot of sense, or wouldn't be complete, if that could be if your credentials for your backup storage would be leaked, and someone would just access the data and could log into the console or over API, could just toggle that switch and turn that protection off. So we are making sure that it is not possible without the multi-factor authentication. So you will have to have additional authentication included to be able to actually turn off the protection. So that is one of the changes that we are implementing. Additionally, the vStore is equipped with the replication mechanism, and so you can actually have two vStores working as a replication source and a replication target. So certain data can be moved automatically from one instance to the other, and that's also that's also important to guarantee that a certain in certain cases you can make the replication process produce immutable copies. So it's almost like, writing that on a CD or DVD or a remote tape to some extent, right? So you will be able to set up a replication that takes a snapshot, takes data from a certain volume, moves it off-site or wherever you decide to put your additional vStore instance, and then automatically that replicated data will be marked immutable and will not be changeable, not be deletable unless the administrator, as I said, having multi-factor authentication, will unlock it for the maintenance operations, because we know that backup solutions do expire certain copies of backups there, and because the storage is not incremental forever.
Right. So, Paul, that's great information. I mean, this is, I know that, our customers are going to be very happy to hear some of these changes that are going into effect and, further enhancing the snapshot immutability. I think you mentioned three things that I just want to go over real quickly and just kind of ask you some questions, being the field technologist that I am, right? These are some screenshots, by the way, that I stole from our most recent sprint review. So I'm not sure if I should be sharing them, but I think it's just a sneak peek as to what we're thinking about from a snapshot in storage perspective. So some of the things that you had mentioned that are going to be critical for customers, and one of those is being able to lock it and protect snapshots that you mentioned from vStore. We know that vStore is pretty much the heart of DPX. It's where all the backup snapshots are stored, and anytime vStore is compromised, then that is going to affect the the recovery capabilities of the entire solution. And I think I heard you say that we're going to be able to provide options to protect those snapshots such that a privileged user uh, may not be able to delete them. And even if they were fully privileged, then we're going to use some of the other capabilities that we built into vStore, such as multi-factor authentication, to actually delete those snapshots, right? I just want to share this screenshot here showing kind of how that's going to look from an end user perspective, where you're going to be able to go in and define which snapshots you want to lock and protect. Let's say you have a legal hold put on a snapshot. So I think this is a really intuitive way of doing things. And just to make sure, once the snapshot is locked and protected, even the DPX catalog won't be able to expire and condense it out when it reaches retention until this lock is removed. Is that right?
Correct. Correct. So absolutely. That's true.
And I think I heard another thing that you had said too was the replication piece, right? So,
Right.
anyone who's used vStore for disaster recovery, we've already had that built-in replication, and now we're saying that we can stage one backup or one vStore server as our primary storage target, and as you replicate over to, let's say, another vStore server, that vStore server is only going to be able to write once or write that snapshot once. Okay, so essentially you're creating a a true lockable snapshot that is protected from the start and the get-go. You're using that replica server as a immutable storage layer and as kind of a protection against any compromises or changes that are occurring to the original vStore. Let's say someone comes in and just deletes or removes the server. This vStore server is another server in and of itself that's going to be governed by its own login and permissions and two-factor authentication codes, right? So we're going to have, those snapshots being protected from that perspective as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly true. And I know that we will be building on that topic and adding it and expanding it and adding more features as we go. Definitely we have retention also that we haven't mentioned, that of course the immutability can be enabled indefinitely or could be enabled for a specific amount of time depending on the regulatory or internal needs. But definitely that's the path for vStore and immutability. And I think that we are definitely going to listen carefully to what our users say and what exactly they need. We are completely aware that customer needs evolve really, really fast. And we are listening closely. We are monitoring what's happening out there on the market, and we definitely want to make sure that that all the customers are happy. So like one example of evolution is that once the 3-2-1 rule was the default, now 3-2-1-1 is pretty much the standard, right? So the one additional component is the one immutable or air gap backup. So we had that air gap. Now we will have the immutability made easier and more accessible and easier to configure. And who knows what the future will bring.
Speaking of the future, let's take a step back and focus on the present time, because we've got one question from the audience. The question is, any comments regarding data reduction at the store? Guys, are you able to address this question?
Yeah, I guess I'll take the first stab at it.
Sure, go
One
for
of
it.
the reasons why we built vStore is because we wanted to take advantage of all the capabilities of the ZFS file system, right? So For those of you on the phone, we know that we can perform replication, perform snapshots through ZFS. We can also perform compression and deduplication as well. So that's already built into the file system. This is something that users can today enable on vStore to perform or reduce the amount of the storage footprint of their backup. But at the same time, I think you have to remember what is what DPX backup is all about. It's a block level incremental backup forever strategy, right? So we're taking a single base backup. We're only moving change blocks of data across the wire. So, you can have users or users are finding that backups are not just becoming a nightly thing. Backups can now become, multiple times during the day where I'm sending over data from these snapshots and then just creating these virtual full recovery point images on my vStore that I can then use for any multiple of use cases, right? Mounting snapshots as an example, or using them for virtualization, spinning up snapshots as virtual machines, that is. This is what vStore enables from a storage perspective. So yeah, I think that's a great question, because we get a lot of, how can we do more with less, right? So I don't have as much storage, or I can't make the investment within my storage. And I think that those problems have started to reduce or kind of fall more to the background over the years as storage has become more commodity, right? As users can now pick up, uh, storage from Best Buy if they wanted to for like pennies on the dollar per gigabyte kind of thing. That's the one of the advantages of having a software-defined storage appliance that's storage and compute agnostic, where you can just provision it with storage. At the same time, we're now have to not shift focus, but move some of the attention towards these other use cases that Pavel was just discussing. So we're bringing it back to the immutability discussion. We kind of hear, okay, well, now I can do more with less, right? But what is actually on there? Has it been compromised? And I think with these enhancements in immutability, we're getting closer to that holy grail of what the textbook definition of immutability should be, right? But as we know, like everything can change it, and it is potentially mutable. But as long as we provide and have those enhancements built in that will, kind of restrict you from, hanging yourself, so to speak, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's a step that our customers want us to take as well, especially as they move towards this requirement of more immutable snapshots, less tampering from even from within or from accidental deletions or intentional deletions from malicious actors. I think a lot of the capabilities that we've heard about today are going to meet that objective. And of course, we're always looking for more feedback as well. So I think just keep it coming.
Martin, I remember that when we were preparing for this webinar, you mentioned that, well, actually, we as catalog software, we are listening and evolving alongside feedback that comes from the customers, and they say, well, that what they actually want is a immutable backup that will be actually immutable. Thank you for that question. We are going to wrap up in a few minutes, so it's a perfect moment for you to ask questions if you have any. Our experts, Pavel, Martin, are available for you right now, and I believe they will be also available for you later on if you like to ask Pavel or Martin any questions via LinkedIn or their emails. I think they will be down for it, and I am also happy to share your contact details. And it looks like Les, once again, a question from you. Is replication passed across a line in the open or encrypted? Gentlemen.
So let me take the field perspective, right? Know that our communication between all of our backup modules are encoded, right? And I think that's different from encryption in the fact that if encoding is basically a prevention against snooping. What I think I might need to check on for you. So users of vStore know that you can encrypt data on vStore, right? So encrypt that data at rest and on both vStores at rest, right? So the question then becomes, when we start moving over that data, is that data sent as encrypted, or do we unencrypt it and then move it over to vStore? I know that the data transports across all modules are encoded, but I guess that would be more of a technical question for the development team. And I'm not sure if, Pavel, you can shed any insight on that, but you know, uh, do we unencrypt it before sending it and then rewrite it and then re-encrypt it, or is it just sent over as raw encrypted data?
Well, it goes over SSH channel, right? So it is encrypted.
Okay, so just through the fact that it's a SSH tunnel means it's not able to be snooped or picked up. That's a good point. So that's too.
Right. Uh, Before we wrap up, maybe one more question from my side. When I was digressing to what our customers need and what are their expectations, so the bottom line is that that holy grail that you, Martin, mentioned of the factual immutability is the goal that we are heading to. And I think it would be good if we wrap up and recap by saying what advancements in regard with DPX and VStore are yet to come. Pavel, you chimed in a little bit on that. You expanded a little bit on that. So could you elaborate just in few short sentences to wrap up for this webinar?
Okay, so you want to the vStore improvements, right? Okay, yeah. So snapshot protection is one thing. Volume level protection, so possibility to prevent volume and the snapshots from being deleted. This is what's coming. Possibility to make data immutable on the remote vStore. So let's name it a replication target. That's another thing. So that gives you a pretty nice enhancement to your immutability story. I know that some of you don't like that sentence, but I guess that's a pretty good way to describe it, because generally there is data protection is kind of like going through a certain story and making sure it's just, it's consistent and well, ends well for you. And I think that what we are doing here with vStore, which is, on-premise immutable storage, that gives you a full control over your data, right? It doesn't have to leave your premises, in certain solutions that are really good as additional layer of offsite protection. But then you can also have a similar solution on your premise that gives you enhanced security and privacy, right? Because you don't have to wonder who has access. You control it. So like the things like customizable compliance and no compromises in terms of faster data recovery and access to the data, right? So you don't have to pull it, but you get it locally. So then so you get that additional layer of immutable protection of the data that's air gapped and protected from being deleted or modified. And then of course our partners and solutions like Wasabi, for example, give you the ultimate cloud-based immutable storage. So I guess that's and that all comes in as a package, the DPX plus vStore and integration with cloud providers.
Thank you, Pavel. We've got one more question from Donald. If we have a few more minutes, I believe we have. I think we'll be able to address that question again as well. We are using Catalogic to backup our 40 group-wise PO as file backup. It's on SUSE Linux. Is snapshot available only on block level backup?
Yes, that's correct, Donald. So with file level backup, what we're doing is we're backing up to file system. There is no snapshot involved from a product capability perspective, right? But remember that anything that lands on vStore is going to have these built-in protections from vStore. So if you are backing up to, let's say, doing file level backup to tape, right? And there's no vStore in the mix. Well, tape is in a sense immutable because it's write once, read many type solution, where the only way in which it can change is if that tape is overwritten or if that tape is lost or destroyed in the fire, or someone takes a sledgehammer to your tape library, right? That's kind of what changes the tape and makes it mutable. But from a DPX and product perspective, this is in line with how we saw immutability in the past, in that we knew that tapes couldn't be overwritten, and the only way in which they could be overwritten was to modify the retention periods for those backup jobs. So you're a bit protected more so in that file level realm. As we started experimenting with disk-based backups and snapshot-based backups, we started bringing a lot more players into the team, right? Storage administrators, for example, that would manage vStore, and then system admins that would manage the other end of the spectrum. And when those teams aren't talking to one another, that's when we experience the most heartache, because when vStore had a snapshot that was deleted, right, which was pretty simple to do if you were a storage administrator, you didn't understand what these files in the file system were. You would just go in and delete them as a storage administrator trying to reclaim that space, not knowing that there was still retention periods set from the DPX catalog to not expire the snapshot. And with these changes and enhancements to the snapshot immutability, I think that's going to improve the situation and that lot for those customers that are using block level and snapshot based backups. But that's not to say that you're not protected. I think you were always protected from the fact that you were likely using tape, or if you wanted to back up to a disk to vStore, then you can take advantage of some of those um, immutability enhancements that are coming into vStore.
Thank you so much. I believe we don't have any more questions, at least for now. Paweł Staniec, Martin Fan, thank you for sharing your insights today. And thank you to the guests for coming. I believe you can find Paweł and Martin on LinkedIn, create a connection, and send direct messages if you like to expand on any topic that we tackled today. And of course, don't forget to visit catalogicsoftware.com. Of course, we'll keep you posted about further advancements of DPX in the immutability story. Thank you so much. I will send you a recording of this webinar quite soon. And well, I believe we'll see each other on the next episode of DPX Ask Me Anything webinar. Thank you so much and see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.